Johannes, good to see you. Let's start. I think we've got a lot to go through. Let's start with sort of injuries. Marcelino Nunez. What can you tell us on the extent of his hamstring issue?
Hamstring injury. I think we're looking at 3 weeks, probably a little bit more, depending on how aggressive we want to be. But of course, I think the answer is easy to us. We have to be careful. But the scan was actually okay, and it could have been worse. So we're looking at 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next point. When you say 3 weeks, I think there probably does feel like some relief behind that. Because it does feel better than first feared. And obviously you've got other options coming back in midfield in that period, I would guess, in terms of Anis and potentially Gabe, maybe not.
I'm not sure, because I think Anis is. When was it? It was the 1st of January, right, with Anis, and I think from that date we expected between 4 and 6 weeks. So I'm not sure, and Gabe is still. We're a little bit unsure with him because he, like I said a couple of weeks ago, he had a setback and felt still some pain in his knee, and we had to take a step back with him and build him up again to be ready. So I think it's, we cannot put a date on either of them. So no, out for now.
And I know you asked after the game Saturday about whether it would maybe rethink what you did transfer wise, but I'm guessing because it's 3 weeks that feels like you're going to be able to get through, doesn't it, without having to dip into the market? Yeah,
I'm not calling it a shame, but of course it'll be interesting for us to play against Sheffield with those guys ready in the lineup. But we have to we manage and we manage and deal with the situation. That's the most important for the team, and we will still be strong tomorrow. But of course we are limited on options in midfield, and probably the lineup tomorrow will also show that. But they will be back soon, so I don't think it's realistic for us to bring players in just to fill out a position for now, because they will be back within 3 to 5 weeks, the most of them. But it's the next 3 to 5 weeks we have to be a little bit creative as well on the guys that we choose for those positions.
And with Marcelino, it's obviously a second hamstring injury. I know it's a different leg, but do you have to look into a bit more deep detail around his load and maybe the sort of what you could have done differently, I guess, to prevent it, or is it just one of those things?
Yeah, we always do that. No matter what kind of injury it is, we have to go back and see could we have done different, and we do that with everything. Sometimes the answer will be no, sometimes the answer will be maybe, sometimes can also be that the answer is yes. I think with him we always have to be careful about how we treat him and be probably a little bit extra aware of his physical numbers, because he is a player where his running capacity is top. I think one of his games so far, one of his games this season, I can't remember who it was against, but he more or less broke the record for high intensive running meters. So he is up there, and he's up there in every game he plays. So whether it's to build him and make sure he also go full power in some of the weekly sessions to make sure that he maintain that level and can keep on going, or to take him from a perspective where we do a little bit more or lower intensity with him throughout the week, so he's ready for the weekend. I think it's also a matter of methodology and how you look at it, and there's different ways to go. But of course we need to sit down with him as well and make the best plan.
In terms of others, Sorensen, Gibbs, are they still out at this stage? Are you sort of any closer to sort of finding out when they're going to be back? Or
Gibbs a little bit the same like Gabe. We cannot put a certain date to it because we have to see him back on the grass, and he just started running again. So whether that's 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's a little bit unsure, because we have to see him when he starts to be on the grass, how he reacts to that and how he can adapt. So for now he's out for, I would say, at least 3 to 4 weeks, and Lungi will be, I think we're still talking a couple of weeks.
And Manqua Forsen as well, obviously came off last weekend with a bit of an issue. Sort of any update on that and how?
Yeah, he had a contact to his knee and felt it straight away, but tried to play on. He was in the beginning of the game. Tried to play on, but it was too much just before halftime, and it was in halftime he couldn't really walk. So he struggled and has also struggled this week. Cannot really still stretch the leg and move it, so he's not available.
Callum Doyle as well, obviously someone you had to bring off at half time. It's a long list.
He is available. He is available. Yeah.
Good. Any other sort of fresh concerns heading into this week? It's already quite a long list, I know. So is there any sort of fresh ones that you're looking at heading into this weekend?
No, I think we mentioned all of them. And then, of course, a suspension to a Spanish left winger, which also make the list a little bit longer. So we will be and have to be a little bit creative, and I think when you look at the bench tomorrow, it's probably the youngest bench that we have had so far this season, and there will be, I think, 2 to 3 players probably that will be there for the first time this season.
And that's I guess one upside of this. It provides opportunity for other players, doesn't it, and for some of those young guys to experience what it's like to be around a championship group and potentially even get minutes in a championship game. So, and a very tough championship game. So there are upsides. It does create opportunity for some of those young players.
Creates opportunity, but of course we still have to be careful on how we create that pathway. It's just, like I said, one of the first days actually in the building, it's very easy to play with a young team. We can just select the guys that are only 18 and then make sure that they play every week. But the difficult part is to be competitive with the young team still. And it's not always just the right thing to do, to take a young player and then put him in straight away. Sometimes you need to build that up. And probably with a few of the guys that will be on the bench tomorrow, it is probably a little bit too soon that they are there. But upside is they get to be around the team, and they get to see how it is to travel away from home. They get to see dressing room, stadium experience, everything like that, and that's probably also good for their learning.
Josh Sargent obviously got his first minutes last week. Has that been the reaction that you wanted so far? There hasn't been sort of any negative effects?
No, he's looking good, and I think it was obvious for everyone when he came on against Brighton. He was really, really eager to come on and just play again, and I think everyone could see that. So it's been the same with him this week. He's in a good mood. He's full of energy, and he's available.
Good stuff. Grant Hanley, let's sort of speak about him then. Obviously his exit has now been confirmed, moved to Birmingham for him. 197 games, 2 league titles at this club. He's been club captain for a long time. I mean, just a massive presence at this football club, and 7.5 years at any football club for any player is a really long time in the world that we all sort of live in now.
It is, and he's been he's been a great part of the club, and he's been here for so many years, and like you said, the club captain with everything it takes to be a club captain, because one thing is what we see every Saturday, but another thing is what you do in all the days leading up to the Saturday, and he's been a good club captain for us in all matters, because he's been aware of the younger players, he's been aware of all the other guys, he's been aware of keeping high standards in training, he's been aware of preparing the guys for games, he's been a voice in our dressing room, even though he was not a starter here at the end of his career at Norwich. So in so many ways, just a top professional.
Yeah, and that was sort of going to be my next point, because this year hasn't probably gone the way that he would have liked. He hasn't played as many minutes. What has his role changed? Has he been obviously you weren't here before, so maybe it's difficult to compare it. But has he still been that presence in the dressing room that you speak about, even though maybe it hasn't been the season that he would have wanted at this football club? Yeah,
he was for us, and it was important for us to have him around the team on game days and stuff like that. So he has been. I had some conversations with him, and Glenn had the same. And I know here towards the end, it was probably getting more and more difficult for him to take that role in the dressing room, which is completely fair. That's how it is. All of them wants to play, and sometimes, which is the natural thing, is that you have a little bit more energy when you play every week, and you're in the starting lineup. But he was trying, and he gave everything he could, I think. So it's a. Everything will come to an end at one day, and this is probably the end for him at Norwich, and we wish him all the best in his new adventure and new club, because it's well deserved for him.
Yeah, and the end of something, maybe the start of something else. Does it give a chance for Brad Hills to step up and sort of take that role within the first team group?
That's the plan. Again, I think the team and the squad will look as way different again when we start this summer, but we have to give the young ones the chance, and we have to see how they can develop and how they can find their role in the team. And I think it gives opportunity again. That's now Brad can take that step. Like I said, with some of the other young guys that will come onto the bench and be around the squad tomorrow, it gives opportunity for them, because now they will probably get some minutes, and we get to see where they are and what they can do and what they can provide to the team. So it's an interesting and exciting period, but also will give us and provide us with some answers, so we know exactly what we're going to do in the market, especially this summer.
Yeah, and obviously when we speak about Grant, we speak about the club captain role. Are you looking to fill that? Are you going to do something slightly different with it in terms of having a bit more of a group? Are you expecting one person to step up? What's sort of your plans for that role now?
We need a person to step up. We will have a club captain and we will have a vice captain. But we are working on a kind of a leadership group where it involves probably 5 to 6 guys that we're going to select who we think is the best for now, but also probably one of them will be a younger one who can learn a little bit from being in that group and probably take steps to be a captain later on in his career. So it will be a group of different characters, different personalities, different positions as well. And of course some of them make sense also for you guys who that will be. That's an obvious choice. But to finalize that group, we just wait to the end of the transfer window, so we make sure that we know exactly who will be in the building for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and in terms of club captain, is that going to be the case as well, or is you already pushed someone up? Obviously, we've seen Kenny wearing the armband a lot this season.
Kenny will be the captain for us, and it's not like I'm expecting that he will not be here after the window. But I'm just saying, in this crazy world, you never know, and they can be an offer on him or some of the other guys while we two are speaking here. So you never know in the window. So it's just always better to just make sure that, okay, the window is closed. We sit down together. We know, okay, you guys, you are the players who are going to do the rest of the season for us, and then we can take the decisions. Yeah,
and in terms of the window, Kate Gordon, first and foremost, obviously gone back to Liverpool.
Yeah.
How do you reflect on sort of his time here? Is it fair to say that him going back probably the best for all parties at this stage?
I rate him as a good player. I rate him as a player with a big potential. I think the situation for us and for him is that when you bring in a player on loan, you expect some more or less performance from day one. So if he was a player here on a long contract, I'll be more than happy to work with him, because I think definitely there's some potential in him, and I think he can show that potential if we also give him the trust, and if he finds out where to be the next couple of years in his career. I think that the situation with him was difficult because he was here on loan, and we could see, okay, that performance we didn't really get from day one. We had to build him both physically and also tactically in the way that we play, and it was just. It's always a fine balance, because we can spend a lot of time on him and then make sure that he will be ready to perform probably the last 5-8 games of the season. Or we can choose to do the opposite and see, okay, one of the guys we have in the building who's here on a long-term contract, isn't it better for us to spend the time on him? So that was a decision for us at the end. So it's always a little bit different when you're here on loan, but a great player, a great person. I think he really loved to be here. He was great around the team. He was I think I can speak on behalf of some of the players, also a good friend in many ways. So definitely a player that we wish all the best.
I mean, people in football often speak about the first loan being very difficult. It can go either way, and it can be quite tough. Is that the case for him, that maybe it's the first loan that, like you say, wasn't quite ready to just come in and impact the group immediately? Yeah,
because again, we've spoken about this league so many times. It's so competitive. It's so physically. So you can be prepared in some way, and if you played youth football a lot, it's a different. It's just a different scene. It's a completely different environment and different kinds of games. So it will take some time. Some are good at doing that. They can just more or less take that step from day one. Some need a little bit extra time. But especially when it's a lone player, you need that performance probably close to day one. Otherwise, it's not worth it at the end. So hopefully he will find another good club to go out on loan. And I think for his career and development, it would be good for him to find a club where he can be for more than just a season.
And in terms of long contracts and someone you're going to be able to work with for a period, Matej Jurasek, I mean, talk to us about him, how excited you are for him. He's clearly a player that the club have tracked for a long period of time.
Yeah, we have. I think the most obvious about him is probably his left foot, where he has a good strike and he's a good finisher. He's good when he He steps from outside and in. He can dribble, he can move. He's a technically great player. So I think he fits well into the way that we want to play and our system. And I think it was the most important for us was just to sign the deal before any other club will come in. And we could see here towards the end that there were some clubs, with all due respect to us, probably a little bit bigger than us, that started to pay some interest in him. So we had to do that deal as quick as possible.
Yeah, and when we talk about the deal, there's clearly someone there who you're going to have to wait for. You're going to have to wait until he can play. But that is almost sort of evidence of how highly you rate him and how much you wanted to get that deal done. Yeah,
and again, of course, everyone, because it's the same with me, it's the same with you. I think it's the same with everyone. When you sign a new player, you just want to get him in the building as soon as possible. But we're going to lose out on him on, do I count, four games, probably something like that. So I think end of the day, after a couple of months, we will probably forget that this was the case. Most important for us was just to get him signed and get the deal done, so we can make sure that he's our player. And then with the rules over here, we just have to wait a couple of weeks.
Yeah, clearly there is a waiting period. I mean, what are you able to do with him in this time? Because clearly, I think I understand he's not allowed in the country and to train and that sort of thing. So is there anything that you can do with him in this time to help him be ready for Championship football? Yeah,
we had him in the building here, of course, a couple of days, and we sat with him and made a clear plan. And there will be a couple of physical performance coaches from us traveling to Prague and make sure that he will do the stuff that is required and make sure that he keeps on being in a good shape and good condition, and which he is at the moment. We tested him, and some of his numbers were really up there with some of our best performing players. So he's in a good place, but we of course have to make sure that it stays like that. So there will be coaches from here around him the next couple of days.
Like you said, it's a crazy world, and I think the summer proved that anything can happen. But as we sit here today, what sort of your feeling and expectation for the rest of the window from your perspective? Are you still looking to add?
Yeah, we are. There's two ways, and I think the one thing is like I said just before, you never know what will happen in a window. We cannot control who will call us. We cannot control who will send us an email and say we want to buy your player. And at some point, of course, because where we are as a club, at some point we have to listen. But for now, I don't think there's anything major for us leaving, but we have to be prepared for that. So that's one thing. So we always sure that if a player was about to leave, we can replace him with a new player. And then the second thing is that we have to make sure that we keep following the strategy. We keep making sure that the rest of this season will be a little bit better than the start of the season. Start of next season will be a little bit better than the end of this season, and that we can only do by constantly having an eye on the market, constantly having an eye on players that can come in and make sure that we can take the next step with the team and be even better. So we are looking, but we're not like, it's not something we have to do, but we're looking if the right thing is out there for us, we can execute on that.
Cool. Sheffield United then, let's look ahead to that. I mean, clearly it's been a really impressive season for them, first year back from the Premier League. That 1-1 draw earlier on in the season at Carrow Road, can you use that? Because I remember you saying you sort of ended that game on top.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hard work that went into that. It was a very high level game. Can you use sort of how that game unfolded as preparation for this one? Yeah,
we will, and we have. With all respect to Sheffield, where they can change, they can do some things a little bit different to what they did to us some months ago in the beginning of the season. But there were some good moments for us in that game, and we've tried to highlight that and see if we can replicate that. But of course, we have to understand that we are in a different phase of the league now, with all the pressure that comes, with all the expectations that comes, where the teams are in terms of form. So we have to put all that into the context. But I think definitely, if we find the good rhythm and the flow in our game, and we get into the right positions, we can hurt them and we can create very, very good opportunities for us. But I think the most important point for me to the players today and the other days was that we really have to be aware on when we risk the ball, because it's a good team on the counter, and they invest a lot when they intercept the ball and they go forward. So we really, really have to be smart in when we risk the ball and when we just decide to keep it. And then of course they have some obvious threats. I don't know if Kiefer Moore is playing, but I think we expect that he will be playing, and he's obvious in terms of his presence in the box and what he gives them when they have to be a little bit more direct in their approach, and then they have the wingers and the offensive players just behind him, where more or less all of them can create something on their own and be a threat. So there's some things that we have prepared and we have trained out there, so we are fully aware of it.
Final few from me, but I mean, you mentioned the home record. This probably applies to Leeds as well. The next two homes, I think Leeds are top of the home form table, and Sheffield United are third. I think they've conceded Sheffield United 5 goals at home. Does that become almost like a psychological barrier that you have to break down with your players to try and break that? Because I'm sure it would create a sort of feeling if you were an opposing player walking into that ground, knowing what they've done there with the points that they've amassed.
Yeah, but last time that was the case. We went to West Brom and they had conceded, what was it?
2, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
1 or 2 goals at home, and we scored 2 goals within the first 35 minutes, something like that. So I think it's so much down to us. We have to respect. Of course, it's a tough place to go. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great club, and they have done well. They have a lot of good players. So it's going to be a tough one for us, but we approach it like we always do. We want to go out there. We want to play our game. We want to see how much we can dominate. But of course, being aware that there will be moments in the game where we have to defend, and there will be moments in the game that we cannot control everything that we do. But I think we have seen so far, also traveling away from home, that we can play the way that we want to play. Not as good as we have done at home, but I think there has been some good games so far. I think the West Brom game was a good one for us, and I think we were pushing also towards the end of that game for the win. So definitely some good things to mention for the players in terms of that.
And you spoke last week ahead of the Brighton FA Cup game, how you could use that as a test to see where you are against Premier League opposition. Is this similar? You can use this test to see where you are against not just this one, but the one in midweek against the top level teams in this division. Yeah,
but it's always exciting to play against the best teams in the league, and it's fair to say that Sheffield are one of them, and Leeds next week will be another one of them. So it's always exciting. We never just go there to see it as a test or see, just take it as an experience. We go there to win, and we go there to see if we can try to win, but also the way that we want to do it, which is important because it builds so much into just the rest of the season, but also next season, if we can do it and if we can go in there and we can dominate in areas of the game where we want to be dominant. So there's many aspects in this. There's the psychological part where it's exactly about what we're going to do, how we're going to approach it, how do we want to create our passing game, how much do we dare to do, which I think is really, really important. That's the style we always have, also traveling away from home, with all knowing that it has been difficult for us in moments, but we have to learn it, and we have to keep on doing it, and we have to learn from every game that we play, and we have to take the learning out of it and see if we can be a little bit better in the next one.
Good stuff. Thanks, Johannes. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.